The stars were quiet that night, almost too quiet. They blinked in the void, indifferent to the fragile life clinging to one small blue planet. Humanity had always thought the galaxy would welcome them. An open hand, a network of stars ready to embrace innovation, wisdom, and curiosity. But the universe had other ideas. Commander Lyra Vale stared out of the viewport of the Elysium Vanguard, her breath fogging the glass. Below her, the planet Solara Prime shimmered like a jewel, dotted with the lights of sprawling cities. Humanity had built wonders, yes, but the stars, with all their alien voices, had begun to murmur warnings. Not yet. Not like this. A chime interrupted her thoughts. "Commander, incoming communication from the Elari," said Lieutenant Rian, a young officer with eyes that never stopped scanning, always measuring, always calculating. "They say it's urgent." Lyra's pulse quickened. The Elari were known for their diplomacy, their patience stretching across centuries, yet their message had the sharpness of a blade. "Play it," she said, her voice steady though her heart raced. The hologram flickered to life. An Elari figure materialized, tall, luminous, with skin that shimmered like liquid silver. Its eyes, deep and vast, seemed to pierce straight into the soul. "Humanity," it intoned, voice harmonizing in strange alien chords. "The expansion you pursue threatens not only yourselves but the balance of countless worlds. We offer guidance, partnership, compromise. Refuse and chaos will spread." Lyra felt the words sink like ice in her chest. Chaos. The Elari did not threaten lightly. They had always believed in reason, negotiation, subtle influence. If they used the word chaos, it meant the situation had passed all caution. Ryan's voice was hesitant. "Commander, they're giving us options. We will not yield," Lyra interrupted. Her hands clenched on the edge of the console.
"Humanity does not bow to ultimatums."
"Not from anyone." The hologram tilted its head slightly, an expression almost like sorrow. "Then the storm will find you." And then it vanished. In the silence that followed, the crew exchanged uneasy glances. Lyra could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down, heavy as gravity. Every decision she made from this point would ripple through the galaxy. Yet something inside her, a stubborn ember that had kept humanity alive through famine, war, and exile, refused to extinguish. The Elysium Vanguard leaped into hyperspace. Lyra's mind raced with possibilities, and yet at the core one thought dominated. We will not kneel. We will not bargain away our freedom. On Solara Prime, life went on, oblivious. Children laughed in the streets. Lovers held hands under neon skies. Yet in hidden corners, scientists whispered of anomalies in the stars, ships disappearing, strange energies crackling in orbit, civilizations collapsing without warning. Chaos was not coming. It was already here. Across the galaxy, human fleets continued their expansion. Colonies thrived on distant moons. Terraformed worlds glowed with green and blue and gold. Traders bargained. Politicians schemed. Dreamers built machines that brushed the edge of infinity. Humanity had faced extinction countless times, and each time they rose stronger. Each time their resilience became legend. But the stars remembered. And the stars waited. Lyra convened the council in the Vanguard's war room. Holograms of planets, star lanes, and alien systems shimmered above the table. "They warned us," she said, voice firm. "And we said no. Every deal, every plea, every attempt at compromise." "Refused." A silence followed. It was not fear, not yet. It was the raw electric pulse of anticipation. Something vast and incomprehensible stirred beyond known space. And humanity, for all its pride and courage, had painted a target on its back. Lieutenant Ryan finally spoke. "Do you think we can survive what's coming?" Lyra looked at him, her gaze fierce, unwavering. "We survive because we must. Humanity does not negotiate with fear. We do not yield to threats, we endure, and in the endurance we find our strength." The stars blinked again, silent witnesses to the stubbornness of one species. Somewhere in the infinite darkness, ancient powers stirred, intrigued, angered, and perhaps impressed. Humanity had rejected every deal, and the universe would respond. Above the war room, the viewport framed a simple, beautiful truth. The galaxy was vast, frightening, and merciless. And humanity was just getting started. The first tremors came silently, almost imperceptibly. Out beyond Solara Prime, Human outposts reported strange malfunctions. Ships vanishing mid-warp, colonies losing power without explanation, communication arrays flickering in broken signals. At first, the Council dismissed them as technical glitches, the ordinary cost of pushing further into the void. But then the anomalies grew bolder. Commander Lyra Vale stood again on the Elysium Vanguard, her fingers drumming lightly against the console. The galaxy had shifted in ways no map could chart. Stellar readings warped, entire sectors gone dark. "It's not coincidence," she murmured. Lieutenant Ryan's eyes met hers, wide with unease. "It's deliberate," he said, and the words carried a weight neither of them could ignore. Reports streamed in from multiple fleets. On the mining colony of Tyros, massive machines twisted and imploded as if they had wills of their own. On the orbiting station of Kaelara, the crew vanished, leaving only scattered notes scribbled in fear. And somewhere near the Helion Rift, an entire fleet of human explorers simply ceased to exist, leaving nothing but distorted echoes of their transmissions. Lyra's jaw tightened. Humanity had rejected every treaty, every plea, every attempt at compromise from the Ilari. And now, the universe had begun its response. But it was not an army, not a weapon in the conventional sense. It was chaos made tangible, a force without pattern striking at humanity's most vulnerable points. The Council convened again, this time in an emergency session. Holograms of disappearing worlds rotated slowly above the table. Admiral Caney, graying and scarred from decades of service, leaned forward. "They warned us," he said, voice low but steady. "And we didn't listen. Every system we've touched, it's unraveling." Lyra's mind raced. She knew fear like this could paralyze a fleet, but paralysis was not an option. She raised her voice, cutting through the tension. "We will not surrender to fear. Every world we've built, every life we protect, every dream we chase, those are our weapons. Chaos may test us, but it cannot define us." Even as she spoke, the evidence mounted. On the frontier planet of Valara, entire rivers evaporated overnight. On the colonies of Juno, skies burned with strange auroras that defied physics, bending light and gravity alike. Humanity had faced pandemics, supernovae, famine, and wars, but none had been like this. The galaxy itself seemed to rebel, reshaping the rules, tearing apart expectation. Yet in the heart of destruction, human ingenuity flickered brighter than ever. Scientists isolated the anomalies, tracing their patterns with painstaking logic, decoding the strange signals embedded in the chaos. Engineers redesigned failing systems, crafting machines capable of withstanding forces no human had ever measured. And through it all, civilians, soldiers, and explorers alike refused to yield to despair. Lyra walked through the corridors of the Vanguard, watching her crew work tirelessly. Faces streaked with sweat, eyes wide with resolve, hearts pounding with the refusal to break. In those moments, she felt a surge of pride. Humanity had always survived because it did not wait for safety. Humanity survived because it acted, and even in the shadow of incomprehensible power it persisted. Yet the question haunted her. How long before persistence was no longer enough? A sudden alert rang, startling the bridge. "Commander, unidentified fleet emerging near Helion Rift," Ryan reported. "They're moving like nothing we've ever seen." Lyra's gaze snapped to the screen. Hundreds of ships, or perhaps something alive masquerading as ships, rippled through space in impossible formations. Their movements were chaotic yet deliberate, alien yet eerily aware. The crew fell silent, the gravity of the moment pressing down like a tangible weight. "They're testing us," Lyra said, more to herself than anyone else, pushing to see what breaks first. Our resolve, our fleets, our minds. For hours the Vanguard observed, catalogued, and adapted. Human pilots flew with a clarity that bordered on instinct, dodging impossible trajectories, responding to threats that made no logical sense. Engineers recalibrated shields mid-battle, improvising solutions in real time. And through it all, humanity's spirit, stubborn, fiery, unyielding, blazed across the darkness. When the first encounter ended, the fleet survived, but the cost was undeniable. Ships were damaged, supply lines disrupted, and hundreds of lives lost. Still, the message was clear: humanity would not bow. The universe could throw its storms, but the storm had not yet claimed the fire at humanity's core. Lyra stared out at the endless stars. Somewhere in the vast, incomprehensible dark, an ancient intelligence watched. It had expected fear, perhaps surrender, But what it witnessed was something it had not anticipated, a species that refused to kneel, even in the face of impossible chaos. And in that refusal, a spark ignited, a spark that would either illuminate humanity's path to greatness or consume it entirely. The stars seemed to tremble. Across the void, human fleets moved like scattered sparks, fragile yet determined. The chaos that had struck Solara Prime and distant colonies had tested humanity's limits, shaking the foundations of confidence and hope. Yet within that trembling, humanity found its greatest strength: ingenuity. Commander Lyra Vale paced the bridge of the Elysium Vanguard, her mind racing. Every system lost, every anomaly catalogued was data, a lesson written in fire and silence. She turned to Lieutenant Ryan. "We've survived the storm, Ryan," she said, voice firm. "Now we fight with knowledge, not just instinct." Ryan nodded, eyes glinting with determination. "The anomalies. They're patterns, Commander, not random chaos. We can anticipate some of them, maybe even control the outcome." Lyra's lips pressed into a thin line. "Then we find the center of this storm. We strike at its heart." Across the galaxy, humanity's greatest minds had convened. Scientists, engineers, tacticians, ordinary men and women who had learned the impossible, worked tirelessly. They devised new weapons, not of destruction, but of adaptation. Ships that could bend under gravitational distortions, shields that resonated with chaotic energy, and communication systems capable of predicting alien interference. On the colony of Tyros, workers who had seen their machines collapse now built new ones capable of thriving amid chaos. Children who had witnessed strange auroras dancing in the sky studied patterns, learning the mathematics of survival. In every corner, humanity was becoming something new, something resilient in ways the stars had never imagined. Lyra led her fleet into the Helion Rift. The vast, twisting expanse of the anomaly pulsed with unpredictable energy. Human ships moved cautiously, every maneuver precise, every system monitored. The enemy, if it could even be called that, waited in the void, observing, testing, and then it struck. Ships that had seemed invisible flickered into existence, crashing through human formations with impossible speed. Energy lances sliced through space, tearing at hulls, bending light and gravity alike. Chaos was no longer a threat. It was an attacker, deliberate and unyielding. But humanity did not falter. Pilots flew with a clarity born of necessity, dodging attacks that defied physics, improvising in ways no one had taught them. Engineers recalibrated shields mid-battle, improvising defenses that bent alien energy back upon itself. And Lyra, at the heart of the fleet, directed each move with precision, intuition, and stubborn courage. Hours passed like minutes, and slowly, the tide began to turn. Using the data from previous encounters, humans predicted patterns in the chaos, exploiting weaknesses invisible to any observer not human. One by one, alien formations faltered, collapsing into controlled zones that could be studied, learned from, and ultimately countered. In the heat of battle, Lyra caught sight of a small fighter piloted by Ryan. He weaved through impossibly fast energy arcs, his ship dancing as if it had a life of its own. He looked at her over the comms, eyes wide, grinning despite the danger. "It's working, Commander." "Yes," Lyra's voice rang across the fleet. "Hold the line. Humanity does not break." And in that moment, the universe seemed to notice something unexpected. The chaos which had stalked humanity like a predator faltered. The pattern shifted, confused by the species that refused to yield. Intelligence collided with intelligence, and human ingenuity, messy, passionate, relentless, began to shape the battlefield. The aftermath was not without cost. Fleets were damaged, lives lost, colonies disrupted. But humanity had achieved the impossible. It had fought back. And more than fought back, it had learned, adapted, and gained strength in the process. As Lyra stood on the bridge, gazing into the flickering expanse of the Helion Rift, she realized something profound. The universe had tested humanity with chaos and disorder, expecting fear, submission, or extinction. Instead, humanity had responded with creativity, courage, and unity. Somewhere deep in the rift, an intelligence observed this species, this stubborn, unpredictable, terrifyingly determined species. It had expected them to crumble. Instead, they had not only survived, they had changed the rules of engagement. Lyra's gaze softened as she looked at her crew. Faces tired, eyes bright, hearts unbroken. Humanity does not bow, she said quietly. We survive because we will. We fight because we must, and in that fight we discover who we truly are. Across the galaxy, the first echoes of hope returned. Planets slowly stabilized. Colonies repaired their broken systems. Communications cleared. And for the first time since the chaos began, humans could see the outlines of the stars as they had once known them. But even as humanity celebrated its victory, Lyra knew the truth. This was only the beginning. The universe was vast, ancient, and relentless, and it had taken notice. Humanity had refused every deal, rejected every compromise, and now it had awakened something far greater than itself. In that awakening, there was both danger and promise. Lyra clenched her fists, staring at the endless, silent stars. Let them come, she whispered. We will meet them, and we will endure. The galaxy had begun to feel alive in ways humanity had never imagined. It was not alive with warmth or kindness. It was alive with judgment, with intention, and with a cold, unyielding intelligence that measured every move, every thought, every fear. Chaos had retreated from the battlefield, but its shadow lingered, haunting the minds of those who had faced it. Commander Lyra Vale walked the corridors of the Elysium Vanguard with a measured pace, though her chest ached. Victory had come at a cost. Hundreds of her crew were lost, and the psychological toll of fighting something that defied understanding was beginning to show. Pilots trembled as they recounted visions of collapsing stars, entire fleets folding into nothingness before their eyes. Engineers shivered as their machines warped under forces that could not be explained. Even Rian, normally unflappable, looked hollow, staring at his console as if expecting it to betray him next. The council convened once again, this time in a secure communications chamber far beneath the Vanguard's hull. Holographic displays hovered in the air, showing collapsing sectors, disrupted colonies, and fleets struggling to recover. Admiral Caney spoke first, his voice grave. The chaos we faced, it was not just a test of our fleets. It was a test of our minds. Humanity endured with ingenuity, yes, but the cost to the psyche is immense. We must prepare for what comes next. Lyra's hands tightened on the table. We will endure because we have no other choice. The universe will not wait for our recovery. Every colony, every fleet, every human life counts. A young scientist named Alara spoke up, her voice trembling but resolute. Commander, I've been studying the anomalies, the patterns. They seem almost sentient. Not just destructive, they are probing us, learning from us, predicting our behavior. If we want to survive, we must understand them, anticipate them before they strike. Lyra nodded. Then we learn, not just to fight, but to see. Humanity survives by thinking, adapting, and refusing to surrender to fear. For days, the Vanguard and its fleet studied the rifts. Humans mapped energies that bent space, decoded signals that no one could have recognized as communication, and developed new strategies to counteract unpredictable forces. Every success came with sacrifice, sleep lost, nerves fraying, minds pushed to the brink. Yet every human involved refused to stop. In quiet moments, Lyra would walk to the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly, indifferent yet awe-inspiring. She often thought of the Alari's warning. Chaos would spread if humanity refused compromise. And yet, staring at the vastness, she felt a stubborn pride. Humanity had refused deals, yes, but it had endured not as pawns, not as subjects of fate, but as masters of their own destiny. Even as her pride swelled, doubt gnawed at her. Could humans maintain their resolve indefinitely? Could minds strained by constant existential pressure continue to operate with clarity, courage, and compassion? She had witnessed fear, despair, and even quiet rage in her crew. But she had also seen determination, brilliance, and selfless courage that transcended reason. It was fragile, yes, but unbreakable in its own way. Ryan approached her quietly, his usual bravado tempered by exhaustion. Commander, how much more can we endure? Lyra turned to him, her eyes fierce but kind. As much as we must. Humanity survives because we refuse to bow, because we refuse to surrender. The universe may push us to the edge, but it has never seen what we can do when we refuse to give in. That is our weapon. That is our power. The following mission would test that resolve. Scouts reported a massive concentration of anomalies near the edge of the Andari expanse. Entire colonies had gone silent. The forces behind the chaos seemed to gather there as if waiting for humanity to falter. The vanguard was ordered to investigate. As they approached, the crew felt it immediately. The pressure on their minds, subtle and insistent, like the galaxy itself, was whispering doubts into their ears. Images flashed across screens that had no source. Strange patterns rippled through space, bending light in impossible ways. For a moment, even the most seasoned officers wavered. Lyra steadied herself, taking a deep breath. "Focus," she said, voice cutting through the tension. "We see, we analyze, we endure. The galaxy can throw all it has, but it will not break us. Humanity survives because we act, because we choose, because we refuse to submit to fear." Ryan adjusted his console. "Then let's see what the galaxy has planned for us, Commander." Lyra's gaze returned to the stars, dark and endless. The universe was vast, unknowable, and indifferent, but humanity had survived the first waves of chaos. And in surviving, they had discovered something far greater than any fleet or weapon: the endurance of the human mind, the refusal to surrender, and the courage to face the incomprehensible with unwavering resolve. The stars whispered around them, ancient and watchful. Chaos had been unleashed, yes, but humanity was ready. Their minds, though tested and strained, had become instruments of survival, sharp and precise, capable of facing a galaxy that would not yield. And humanity had learned one unshakable truth: in the face of the incomprehensible, they would endure. The galaxy had shifted, subtly but irreversibly. Humanity had survived chaos, endured its assaults, and adapted in ways the stars themselves had not anticipated. But survival was no longer enough. Lyra Vale understood this. The time had come not just to endure, but to strike back, to seize the initiative and remind the universe that humanity would not be passive. The Elysium Vanguard led a fleet of human ships into uncharted space, toward the source of the anomalies near the Andari expanse. Every ship was modified, every crew member trained for unpredictability. This was not a reckless assault. It was a carefully calculated offensive, informed by days of analysis, pattern recognition, and human intuition that even the most advanced AI could not replicate. Lyra walked the bridge with a calm intensity, eyes scanning the holographic displays. "We know their methods," she said, voice steady. "We understand the patterns. Every strike they've made, every anomaly has left traces. We follow the traces, we disrupt the source, and we reclaim our space. Humanity does not run. Humanity fights." Rian, seated at the tactical console, adjusted the sensors. "Commander, multiple rifts detected. They're converging, but their formation is irregular, almost like they're baiting us." "Then we take the bait," Lyra replied, a spark of defiance lighting her eyes. "We strike where they least expect it. We show them what humanity is capable of." As the fleet approached the central anomaly, the void itself seemed to resist. Space twisted and shimmered, rifts folding upon themselves like liquid metal. Ships quivered under invisible pressures. The crew's nerves were tested in ways they had never imagined. Yet human determination burned brighter than fear. Ilara, the scientist who had studied the anomalies, monitored the readings with a mixture of awe and terror. "Commander, these patterns, they're not just energy. They're learning, adapting. Every move we make, they respond instantly, but I think I've found a rhythm, a weakness we can exploit." Lyra's gaze sharpened. "Show me." Ilara pointed to the display. Tiny fluctuations, almost imperceptible, repeated across the chaos like a heartbeat. They pulse in response to our collective focus. If we can synchronize our fleet to anticipate and counter their pulses, we can disrupt their formation long enough to strike at the core. Lyra nodded. "Then we synchronize. Every pilot, every ship, every crew member, focus. Humanity fights as one." The fleet surged forward, moving in unprecedented unity. Pilots communicated without words, anticipating maneuvers before they were needed. Engineers adapted shields in real time, bending the chaotic energy back upon itself. The rifts pulsed, twisted, and flared, but the human fleet, moving as a single organism, endured. Then came the moment of confrontation. At the heart of the anomalies, a massive, shimmering formation floated, vast, alien, and unknowable. The source of chaos itself. Energy waves pulsed outward, bending reality, testing the limits of every human mind aboard the fleet. Ships quivered, systems strained, hearts raced. Lyra gripped the command rail. "Now," she ordered. Strike with everything we've learned. Show the galaxy that humanity refuses to be broken. Energy beams, guided by human intuition and analysis, lashed out at the core, shields warped to absorb and redirect the chaos, creating openings no alien intelligence had anticipated. The formation quivered, destabilized, and began to collapse inward. Lyra felt the exhilaration of a victory hard won, but tempered by the awareness that the enemy was unlike any humanity had faced before. Ryan's voice rang through the comms, excited and strained. "Commander, it's working. The rifts are destabilizing." Lyra allowed herself a brief smile. "Humanity does not yield," she shouted. The fleet pressed forward, relentless, moving with purpose, courage, and the unbreakable spirit of a species that had been underestimated for millennia. Even as the chaos receded, Lyra knew the battle was far from over. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown powers, and the universe itself was watching, learning, adapting. But humanity had proven something vital, that it could survive, endure, and strike back with ingenuity and courage. That no matter how impossible the odds, the human spirit would not be extinguished. As the fleet regrouped, stars flickering in the wake of battle, Lyra looked at her crew. Faces streaked with sweat, eyes burning with determination. "We have reclaimed our space," she said. "But this is only the beginning. Humanity's story is not one of surrender. It is one of endurance, courage, and defiance." In that moment, across the vast, indifferent void, the universe paused. Something ancient, intelligent, and vast observed this species that refused to bow, refused to yield, refused to compromise. Humanity had rejected every deal. Humanity had endured chaos. And now humanity had struck back, and the stars, silent witnesses to every human triumph and trial, seemed to shimmer with a new kind of recognition. Humanity was awake. The galaxy had grown quieter, but it was a deceptive calm. Humanity had struck back, stabilized the rifts, and reclaimed contested space. But somewhere deep within the Andari expanse, something far older than any star stirred. The chaos had a mind, a purpose, and it had noticed humanity's defiance. Commander Lyra Vale stood on the bridge of the Elysium Vanguard, staring at the pulsating void before them. The fleet had been reinforced, systems repaired, and minds readied for whatever lay ahead. But even seasoned officers felt a tension in the air, an almost sentient pressure that made breathing heavier, thoughts sharper, and hearts beat faster. Ryan's voice broke the silence. "Commander, we're receiving something, not a signal, not a transmission, it's a presence." Lyra's gaze narrowed. "Describe it." "It's vast, immense, not hostile in the way we understand, but curious, measuring. Every decision we've made, every move we've taken, it knows. It's aware, and it's communicating in a way we can barely comprehend." The holographic display shifted, showing an immense, shimmering formation at the center of the anomalies. Light bent and twisted around it, defying physics, flowing like liquid energy and radiating a strange resonance that seemed to reach into their minds. Humanity had faced chaos before, but this was intelligence incarnate, a cosmic mind testing them, weighing them. Alara, standing nearby, whispered, "It's alive, in a way we've never imagined. Not just responding to us, but assessing, judging us." Lyra swallowed hard. "Then we show it who we are." The Vanguard advanced carefully, every ship synchronized, every crew member aware that they were facing not just destruction, but a judgment upon the species itself. Every action mattered. Every hesitation could be catastrophic. Yet humanity had never been better prepared. They had survived the storm. Now they faced its source. As they neared the formation, the cosmic intelligence reacted. Energy pulses rippled outward, bending space, projecting visions into human minds. Visions of entire civilizations falling, stars collapsing, and the terrifying inevitability of cosmic indifference. Many faltered, overwhelmed by the incomprehensible scale, but humanity endured as they always had. Lyra's voice rang across the fleet, unwavering. "Focus. This intelligence measures us, yes, but it underestimates one thing. Humanity refuses to yield. We endure, we learn, we adapt. And in that, we are stronger than any force you could summon." Ryan's hands flew across his console, coordinating maneuvers that no human had attempted before. "Commander, I think we can reach its core." Its energy is unstable in response to synchronized human action. Ilara stepped forward, pointing to the resonating pulses. It reacts to understanding, to patterns of ingenuity. We've learned its language, subtle, precise, human. If we act together, we can influence it, not destroy it, but communicate with it. Lyra nodded, heart pounding. Then we act. Every fleet, every ship, every human mind synchronize. We show it what humanity is. The fleet moved as one, focusing not on fear but on creativity, on adaptation, on the indomitable spirit that had carried them through chaos. Energy pulses intertwined with the intelligence, resonating in harmony, bending reality without breaking it. For the first time, the formation hesitated. The cosmic mind seemed curious, intrigued. Lyra felt a strange clarity wash over her. The intelligence was not an enemy in the traditional sense. It was testing them, weighing their worth, observing how a species could defy insurmountable odds and still act with purpose. And humanity, through chaos, ingenuity, and courage, had proven itself. A ripple of energy swept through the void. Stars around the formation flickered, and for a moment the universe seemed to pause. The cosmic intelligence withdrew slightly, not in retreat but in recognition. It had expected fear, collapse, surrender. Instead, it saw something entirely new. Humanity, unbroken, refusing every deal, defying every limit. Lyra exhaled, her voice soft but triumphant. We endure. We do not bow. We are human. The fleet held position, feeling the tension ease as the intelligence receded, its presence lingering like a whisper of wind over the stars. Humanity had not destroyed it, nor had it been destroyed. Instead, a fragile understanding had formed, an acknowledgement across unfathomable distances that this species could endure, adapt, and confront the unknown without submission. Ryan turned to Lyra, eyes wide. We survived it, not just the chaos, but the mind behind it. Lyra's gaze returned to the stars, quiet and infinite. Yes, she said. We survived, and we have learned. Humanity refuses every deal because we define our own destiny, and no force, no matter how vast, can erase that. Somewhere in the immeasurable depths of space, the cosmic intelligence watched still, aware that a species had risen to a level it had not predicted, a species that refused compromise, rejected fear, and chose the path of endurance. Humanity was alive. Humanity was formidable, and humanity would not be ignored. The stars shimmered silently, witnesses to a species that had faced the impossible, and emerged not just alive, but wiser, stronger, and unyielding. The stars no longer trembled in fear of humanity. Not entirely. The cosmic intelligence had withdrawn, observing from the void, calculating, and perhaps, just perhaps, admiring. Humanity had endured chaos, defied incomprehensible forces, and risen through ingenuity, courage, and the refusal to bow. Commander Lyra Vale stood on the bridge of the Elysium Vanguard. The galaxy spread before her like a living tapestry. Her fleet had repaired, replenished, and grown stronger. Every officer, every crew member bore the marks of their trials, faces lined with fatigue, eyes bright with resolve, hearts hardened yet compassionate. They had fought against the incomprehensible, and they had survived. Ryan approached, his usual confident smile tempered by awe. Commander? The anomalies have stopped, for now. But not just stopped, they've stabilized. They seem almost cooperative. Lyra's gaze did not waver. Cooperative or cautious. Either way, humanity has claimed its space. Not through surrender, not through deals or compromise, but through endurance, ingenuity, and refusal to yield. Across the galaxy, colonies rebuilt. Ships returned from missions that had once seemed doomed. Science teams analyzed the remnants of the chaos, discovering insights that would propel humanity centuries ahead. Humanity was no longer merely a species. It was a force, a testament to the power of spirit, intellect, and determination. The council convened aboard the Vanguard, their expressions a mixture of pride and solemnity. Admiral Caney addressed the room. We have faced something the universe has never seen before, a force beyond comprehension, testing every facet of our being, and yet here we are. Humanity stands, stronger, wiser, and unbroken. Ilara, the scientist whose insight had helped decode the cosmic patterns, spoke softly. It's not just strength, Admiral. It's understanding. We didn't just survive the chaos, we learned from it. And in learning, we proved our worth to the galaxy itself. Lyra nodded, feeling the truth of her words deep within. Humanity will never negotiate away its freedom. We will not bow to fear or force. But we are not merely survivors, we are pioneers, thinkers, builders, and warriors. We define our destiny. In that moment, across the void, something shifted. The cosmic intelligence, vast and ancient, pulsed once more, a faint resonance that seemed almost like recognition. Humanity had refused every deal, rejected every compromise, and survived. They had faced the unimaginable and emerged not broken, but elevated. Lyra gazed at the endless stars, a quiet pride swelling in her chest. The universe was vast and indifferent, but humanity had carved its place within it, not through submission but through spirit, courage, and relentless ingenuity. They had endured chaos, they had struck back, and they had learned to thrive where others might have fallen. Rian stood beside her, gazing at the void. "Do you think they'll leave us alone now?" Lyra smiled faintly, eyes still on the stars. "No, but that doesn't matter. We don't seek their approval or their deals. We seek our own path, our own future, and the universe will learn to respect it." In the silence that followed, the stars seemed to shimmer with possibility. Humanity had faced the storm, and in doing so, had become something more than a species. They had become a force of will, a beacon of ingenuity, and a testament to the indomitable spirit of life. Somewhere in the farthest reaches of the galaxy, civilizations whispered of the humans who had refused every deal, who had faced chaos and emerged victorious. They spoke of fleets that moved like a single mind, of minds that endured unimaginable pressure, and of a species whose courage could bend the very rules of the universe. Lyra turned to her crew, her voice carrying through the vanguard. "We survived the impossible. We fought what no one else could. And we will continue to rise, not because the universe allows it, but because we will it. Humanity defines itself. And nothing, not chaos, not ancient powers, not the vastness of the stars, can take that away." The fleet erupted in quiet cheers, a mixture of relief, pride, and unwavering determination. Humanity had faced the void and refused to bow. They had endured, they had struck back, and they had proven, in the most extraordinary way, that the human spirit, stubborn, brilliant, unyielding, was a force the galaxy would never forget. The stars stretched endlessly before them, indifferent yet now forever marked by a species that refused to negotiate its destiny. Humanity had rejected every deal, embraced chaos, and emerged triumphant. And in that triumph, they had carved a legacy written in starlight, a legacy of courage, ingenuity, and the enduring power of being human. The galaxy would remember,